Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eartha Johnson. I am the Director of Guided Pathways, Equity and Achievement at Barstow Community College. We want to welcome you to the Career Exploration webinar series that is focusing today on careers in math. And I'm really delighted to have all of you participate in this discussion. If you are interested in asking a question, please feel free to speak up at any point in time throughout our session, or you can type your question in the chat. If you are a BCC student, we definitely would like for you to type your name and B number into the chat, but please do it privately. You are going to send a message to April Yanez, so just look for her name in the chat and send your B number. If you are a Promise student, we definitely want to give you credit for participating in this webinar. So please make sure that you indicate in the private chat your name and B number. And for all of our students, we have a wonderful opportunity for you. So if you make sure you hang in here, you scan this QR code, and or select the link and follow the link. We have a very brief survey for you to participate in, and you will be entered into a drawing for a Samsung Chromebook. So right now that everyone's pretty much online 100% of the time, I definitely see that this is a hot commodity. And so we'd like to just thank all of you who have been very diligent in coming to these webinars to feel as though you've won something, not just knowledge, but something tangible. So please make sure that you hang in here throughout the duration and go ahead and scan the code, or you are going to be utilizing the link. So April will put the link into the chat towards the end of our conversation. So let me move forward and introduce you to our speakers. So we are very pleased to have Dr. Lara Brady from the Foundation for California Community Colleges joining us today. She is the regional coordinator for the Guided Pathways initiative in the state of California. We have two of our professors from BCC with us as well, Dr. Peter Esperanza and Professor Sona Vartanian. I want to welcome all of our panelists to this conversation. I am particularly excited about the conversation because I was one of those students who struggled in math, and I didn't have an opportunity to talk to people who really excelled and used math in their professional careers. So it's going to be really exciting to hear how Dr. Lara Brady and Professor Vartanian and Dr. Esperanza, how they came to pursue the fields that they're in, and how math has really been something that's a passion for them. So I'm going to open the floor and ask our panelists to just share a little bit about themselves before I start asking questions. And again, I'm going to encourage all of you, please see this as an opportunity to ask the questions that are going to lead you down a path that will help you pursue a career that you really love. And if you're just here kind of exploring, this is where you need to be as well. So I'm going to ask Dr. Esperanza if you can share a little bit about your background and how you came to pursue math as a PhD, no doubt.
Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Esperanza, and first I would like to thank BCC and Eartha for inviting me and being one of the panelists for today's webinar on math or careers in mathematics. My interest in earning a math degree when I was studying at the high school level was because I want to become a game developer. I was born in the 80s. Yes, I'm old. So back then, Super Mario Brothers, family computer, so to speak, video games was really popular, and that's what I want to be when I was a kid. I wanna make games. I want to create games, and I want to do 3D animation, and I want to do all these fun and creative stuff in computers. And I didn't realize that being or taking a degree in computer science equates to taking a lot of math courses. And I sucked at mathematics. Mathematics was my Waterloo growing up. And one thing that I didn't know taking a college course or college degree is that I need to be good in mathematics to finish or earn a degree in computer science. And I'm already there in the program, and there's no other choice but to fight and to really fulfill my dream of becoming a computer scientist or a game developer. And that's basically how I ended up with a degree that I have right now. And just for everybody to know, my PhD is not in pure mathematics. My PhD is education in mathematics. And that is because I felt that I had a career as a game developer after I graduated from college, but I didn't feel it. It's like I got it now. Now I'm doing what I dreamed. I thought my dream was to do. I mean, I thought that was my dream, but I wasn't happy. And good thing my math degree is still in my resume. So I tried teaching in education, and that's where I found my niche, my passion, and that's where I'm at right now, helping students achieve mathematics in the language that I know I can speak, which is the language of mathematics for students who struggled in mathematics or still struggle in mathematics. And I could be able to communicate with them because I understand them, because I speak their language. And that's how that's why I'm here now in my career in mathematics.
Thank you so much, Dr. Esperanza. Professor Vartanian, can you share a little bit about your background and how you came to pursue a career in math?
Let me give you a little bit of about my education and my profession, where I am, and tell you a little bit of my story. But first of all, I would really appreciate you putting such a lovely webinar like this, and you should be commended. I really appreciate
Thank
you. I started at Barstow 20 years ago, so this is my 20th year. I started in a community college, Fresno City College, and liberal arts. And I transferred to CSU Fresno, pure mathematics, and transferred to UCLA for master's. And I do also have a master's in mathematical statistics and a PhD level work in UC Santa Barbara. And I was on a approved leave. The way I became really interested in math, since I was growing up, I did have a cousin, and she taught math. And she tutored me on and off. And she tried to motivate me. And every time she said, you know, if you solve a math problem, after you solve it and you get the answer right, you feel so good about yourself, and you will never have that feeling somewhere else. You know, I just kept that in mind, and I just tried and tried, and she was right. When I got it question right, I felt so good about myself. I felt so smart. And when I was 5 years old, that multiplication table, if somebody asked me and if I did not know about the answer, I felt so bad all day that I did not know how to answer that question. And you have to just say it right away. So actually, my cousin had a really important role of, you know, making mathematics is fun when you really can't get it, but you just try it. Once you get it, you feel so good. And I always tell this story to my students. So I was really grew up very strong in math and science. And I knew I was going to be a teacher, but I did not know at the time what level. When I started preschool, 3 years old, I love dolls. I still do love dolls. And I used to come home and make my dolls my students, and I will teach them what I learned in school. And my Christmas present, I asked my mother to give me a red pen because I saw the teachers were having a red pens grading things. So I knew I was going to be a teacher. So between my cousin loving math and loving the teacher part of it, I put it together. And I promised myself as I was going through the community college, which I have a great respect to the professors that who motivated me to not only go on upper, higher and higher in education, and become a community college professors, because I really want to give what I learned from my professors, encouraging me just to move on, that I could do better. I could do better. So it is now that not only feeling good about knowing the answer for the math, I feel good when I see my students succeed in education. I've been really good role model for our students, especially female students. I taught at Fort Irwin for a long time, and I got lots of good student evaluations and comments that I really helped them. I think they like to see a woman in the field, and they like to see nothing comes really easy. Not everybody's good in everything, right? If everybody was good in math, then will be nothing left for the other professions. So it is good not to be perfectly well in math, but everybody, I think, can learn math. And management skills that I learned by knowing math. I do both teaching, and I also have quite a bit of experience in business dealing with my mathematics skills. And I'm really happy to be here today.
Thank you so much, Professor. Dr. Laura Brady, can you also share a little bit about your background and how you came to use math in the work that you do? And I'm going to ask you, if you wouldn't mind, to talk a little bit about statistics and how we learn so much about the world using statistics.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm super excited. I'm super excited to learn more about your students as well as your panelists. I think similarly to Dr. Esperanza and Professor Vartanian, it was very interesting how I started my work in math, specifically in statistics. I came to the US in my 10th grade from Mexico, so I wasn't really comfortable exploring the language. But I was comfortable with numbers because numbers were very clear, and you understand the value of 3 in English or Spanish, right? That carries over pretty easily. So I was a bit more comfortable in math than in English. So right off the bat, I started leaning into that direction a little bit. When I went to college at San Francisco State, I started taking some exploratory classes, but just for fun. And the teachers there were encouraging, but were also challenging me, right? And this was, I'm also a kid of the 80s, so no shame. 80s were super cool. But we didn't use those fancy calculators to answer those problems. We had to go through manually, and it was part of it was so that you understand the process of breaking down an equation. And I remember going through pages and pages and pages and just like trying to break out an equation, right? But it was challenging enough where I felt like I could do it. It wasn't like something that was like unattainable. And so that sparked something in me. And also the fact that there's just one correct answer. You know, it's like you get it right or you get it wrong, the end. So it was very clear for me. And so I just started pursuing that on the side, but not too heavily. I was very interested in psychology and how that had influence in so many aspects in our lives, right? So I started learning a little bit about the connection between psychology and math, psychology and statistics. As I went on, I looked into sociology, and I thought that was really interesting. I looked into economics, possibly, you know, they were really interesting. But ultimately, one of the programs in summer that I took advantage of took me to a UCLA, and I saw what a researcher was doing. And I said, what is that called? And they say, oh, it's educational psychology. And I was like, what? And so from there, it just took off, and I looked at what schools offer. What does that mean? What kind of jobs can you get? What's the median income? Where can you work? Right. And so when I realized that was merging my passion of, you know, looking into psychology and statistics, and it was a perfect marriage. And so one of the things that was really interesting, I moved to Colorado to do a PhD right after I finished my bachelor degree. And I was 21 at the time, which was nuts now that I think about it. But I started noticing that very few people have Black hair in the program. let alone spoke Spanish, let alone be born in a different country. And so it was my first semester and I was ready to quit. And so I started looking into some research, and I realized that out of 300 elementary school girls that began their education, only one of them attained their PhD. And it was so powerful for me to understand that and to see statistics in action. And the odds of me failing were stacked. And so I couldn't check it out. And it was one way for me to keep going. And so from that became the basis of my dissertation. That became the basis of my professional career. That became the basis for the role of regional coordinator in supporting all 116 community colleges in the state of California. And it's become my passion. And I'm super excited to dive into it, but that's a quick intro into my background and how I got here.
Thank you so much. I want to ask a question that really seems to connect the three of you. Dr. Esperanza, you talked about passion, right? That you were passionate about this particular discipline. And Dr. Vartanian, or Professor Vartanian, I think you're practically there. You started the work. You talked a lot about the encouragement that you got from your, I think you said your cousin, and that you were able to become more confident in an area that you struggled with. And Dr. Laura Brady, you mentioned the fact that you were motivated, by the lack of representation, in education. And so my question for all three of you really is, what do you wish you had known about yourself as a student that would have prepared you to pursue this with a different mindset? Because we know a lot of our students are first generation students. There are a lot of students who may not feel confident that this particular discipline is for them, and they're not quite sure about how they should pursue it. And if they struggle, in a way that I can say I struggle all throughout my education with math, you don't have that confidence. So what do you wish you had known then for you to say motivation and confidence and passion are important for students as they're exploring what they want to do, or they find challenges, within the classroom as they're trying to pursue their education?
Now I would encourage to be open mindset. That means you have to be open learning. Then the encouragement, never give up, and don't let somebody put you down. Don't say, oh, you can't do this. Oh, this is not for women. This is, you can't get it. Don't make anybody put you down, and don't let anybody tell you something you cannot do. Everybody can do whatever they want to do. So that encouragement, and be confident that you could do it. It may take a little bit longer, but it's okay. Like I said, not everybody's born as to be a mathematician. I'm not born to be a mathematician, but you can do it. So if you really like math, which we talk later, I'm sure, about the opportunities in math, but don't be discouraged. If somebody tells you you can't do it, actually you do the reverse. No, I can do it, and I can prove that I could do it.
Thank you.
You want me to go ahead? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to share with you, growing up, something that would have helped me prepared. Looking back, you know what? I wouldn't want to change a thing because no one really prepared me for this. I grew up in a very small town in the Philippines, in the mountains actually, and there's no resources. All I know is my passion of earning a higher education degree, because I know at that time that my ticket to success is earning a college degree. But at the high school level, at 17 years old, I don't know what I want to do. I just know in my heart that I love playing video games. And to be able to continue that passion and to be able to achieve my goal of earning a college degree, computer science is my way to do it. Not realizing that, yeah, there's a lot of math involved in computer science, but what I want to share with you, the experience I had, the struggle, the real struggle I had, because going to the program where math is key and math is the language that they are using in computer science, which apparently at that time is something that I sucked at. And that's one of my weaknesses. I learned to just stay focused on the goal. And at that time, my goal is to earn a college degree, no matter what degree it is. I need to complete it and I need to finish it. And in my journey, in my 4-year journey in the program, I learned to realize that I can achieve anything. I can do this. I just need to find it in my heart how I'd be able to work and use my weaknesses to my advantage, and how I'd be able to understand the language of math that is too foreign for me in a language that I'd be able to understand myself. And that's something that taught me in my journey in earning that math degree. After earning that BS Math or Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics degree, I was unstoppable after that, that I know that I can achieve anything. And that's something that I want to share with all the students right now. I know that you're uncertain with what you're going to do. I know you're uncertain what a math degree would give you, but look at me now. I have a silver play button in YouTube, and I never dreamt of doing or reaching that level in YouTube or in social media. But it's basically the result of the practice and um, the training I had in my degree or in my quest in earning a college degree in mathematics. It's hard, it's difficult, it's a struggle, but that's what makes you stronger. And that is what will help you make your brain think of what else your mind, brain, and body can do that you thought or never thought is possible. And that's basically why I'm so happy that I stuck in the program and I did not give up and I just fought for it, even though I know that at the very start I'm handicapped. And that's what I want to share with you, that stay in that passion. If you really want or interested in earning a degree in mathematics because you want to be an actuary, you want to be an analyst, you want to be a programmer, you want to be a coder, go for it. Because we don't know what destiny would where it would take you. It could probably, I didn't realize that I'm gonna be a YouTuber doing mathematics, and those, the possibilities are endless. Just stick to what your dream is, and that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you so much. We can tell you're passionate about math. We're convinced.
I am. 800 videos after, yes, I think I can say that I am really passionate about math.
Thank you. Dr. Laura Brady.
Thanks. I think one thing I wish I knew when I was starting out was about how valuable my point of view will be. As a woman of color, as somebody that was born in a different country, it's invaluable. I thought it would have been seen as a deficit perspective of coming in, but it was definitely strength-based. You provide a viewpoint, you provide information that other people just don't think about, don't consider, having experience, having thought about. So definitely that. Also going back to Professor Vartanian, thinking about all the possibilities and how it's going to be difficult, but think about it from a strength-based approach. You're coming in and you're learning. There's so many things you don't know. Where can you learn them? What kind of supports are available? Where can you grow? Where are the areas where you need to challenge yourself? And so thinking about it from a strength-based approach really, really would have been helpful. And then lastly, definitely with Dr. Esperanza, I saw math embedded in everyday life, and I saw math and specifically statistics as a very powerful tool. And so I just leaned into that direction. I wanted to understand that power, and I knew that people that look like me didn't have access to it. So that's why I jumped into it. It just seemed really enticing, and I I wanted to understand that, and I wanted to be part of those decisions and things that affect everyday life folks. And so that was very exciting for me.
Thank you. So let's talk about what can you do with math? What are some areas that, students who are thinking, okay, I'm convinced, kind of, once I get this degree, where do I go?
Bertha, I'm not sure if you are capable of bringing any PowerPoint.
Yes, I'm going to share my screen for you.
Yeah, if you do share it, then I start if no one want to go to first.
Okay. So, oops. I am struggling here. Just bear with me. I'm going to start. There we go. Okay.
Thank
Question
you.
for you.
Thank you. So really the first, if you go back to, if you're thinking of majoring in math, it just seems like it's abstract. Math is just not only numbers. There is actually explanation behind these numbers. So what can you do with becoming a math major? Now, I've been in academia, a researcher, and I also been in business organizations. I've done both. In my specialty in statistics, which is it's a really beautiful branch of part of a mathematics. It shouldn't be, but it is, because it's recognized as a separate science now. There's statistics department. At the time when I was in a graduate student at UCLA, statistics was part of math, and then they become independent as a statistics department. So with academia and researchers and business organizations, they hire mathematicians. So if you could get me to the next. Okay, so teachers, professors. So some examples of the careers in math, teachers or professors. Well, not everybody like to teach, which is okay. You could be a high school teacher. High school teacher requires a bachelor's degree in mathematics. And I believe it's a 1 year at the time when I was in school, 1 year of credential. You do a single subject credential and you become a high school teacher. And there's a big demand out there, as far as when I talk to some high school teachers, there's a big demand out there. The pay is good, benefits are good, summers are off. But if you want to go a little bit higher, you could go get a master's degree and you become a professor. You could do college level. And if you want to teach in a CSU or UC level, then you get a PhD. So those are for students who really have a passion in teaching. And you have to have that, like I said, and if you don't, just don't worry about it. There's a bunch of other things that you could do. Statisticians, it's a beautiful thing, becoming a statistician. If somebody likes to sit in a desk 8 hours, which I can't, so that's why I just chose a career in teaching, because I really love to teach. But I've done some research. So you could be data research and analyst, where deal directly with the data. You do research and you analyze it. Actuary, you could apply it to actuary. What do you think these insurance companies come up with these regulations and policies? Why, when you're 18 years old, the insurance is higher than somebody is 50 years old? Because it's based on actuary. Economists use mathematics. You become a computer programmer. Medical scientist, software developer, financial analyst, auditor. I've done auditing job. It's fun, as long as I do it, several hours, but not all day long. So this is the list of careers for math. And then my next slide, it will show you, which is a complement of the Google. And here's their list, and it's not limited. You could do research on your own. You could do, like we said, academic and research institutions. Academic institutions, oh, this is a duplicate, sorry. Aerospace and transportation equipment manufacturers. Those are the organizations they hire mathematicians. Analytics and forensic organizations, chemical and pharmaceutical, communication service providers, computer information and software firms, consumer product companies, energy system firms, electronics and computer manufacturers, engineering research organizations, financial service and investment management firms, government labs, research offices and agencies, insurance companies, medical advice companies. So this is just a list of what you could do with it, with your math degree. And it's not only what you actually do, you have to love what you do. So it is always good to kind of have an idea, if you're going to be measuring mathematics, what you really want to do. So you don't waste your time of focusing on something and then changing your measure. You really want to have some goal in mind. It is okay to change, but it will be good that you know if you're going to be actuarian, or you're going to be statistician, or you're going to be computer software, and whatever that might be. So it's always good to have a goal. And when you're taking these math classes, and they're not going to be easy. Okay, one thing I always noticed that happens, students, I know some students, they know they could do the job. I know they can do the job, but they don't have the time. Okay, math does take a time. And like I said, not everybody's born mathematician as a mathematician, and we actually like that too. But you have to spend the time. I have a lot of students back off and they don't come back because they think it takes too much time or requires thinking, and sometimes they don't feel good when they don't get it right. And I always tell them, if you don't get something right the first time, you don't feel bad at all. You just try it. You're just gaining experience. You're not wasting your time, but you really need to have the time. So once you go through the program, that you will have that reasoning skills, math management skills. It will give you so much opportunities for you, even though it just, the word itself, just a math major. Oh, are you a math major? What that means, what are you going to do? As you saw, I just gave you some brief examples of what you could do. And I really love every single one of you here to be in my class. I really love that. And you are going to see how I'm going to encourage you, I'm going to motivate you, and I'm going to push you higher and higher. So thank you for the time of having me show my presentation.
Absolutely.
And I love
Thank
math.
you. Thank you so much. Professor Vartanian, you mentioned how much time it takes. And so I wanted to ask Dr. Esperanza as well to chime in and talk about the experiences within the classroom and how students can have a realistic idea of what skills they need to be successful as they are taking these classes. I hear patience as one of them. And you had also mentioned, that students who study math are problem solvers, right? So Dr. Esperanza.
And yeah, Professor Vartanian showed like patience. It's really key. Not just in any degree, I think, or not just in any course, but especially in mathematics. And you really need to take time to really study the material. There will be some struggles because that's part of mathematics, and that's the beauty of mathematics. You need to be patient in earning a skill, because learning math is like learning any other skills, just like in sports. If you're good at basketball, the skill level that you want to achieve in, if you want to be able to shoot from this, or how far you want to be able to be a good shooter at, you need to practice. If you want to beat a certain time when you're a swimmer, you practice. So that's basically how math works. And that's basically how I learned and applied mathematics as a student. If I am struggling in some of the derivative rules, I just keep on repeating, answering math problems over and over and over again until it becomes second nature. And that's what you need to be prepared on when you want to really explore on pursuing a degree in mathematics. Because one of the popular questions that I always receive is that, what is the most difficult math class that I would ever take to be able to finish an engineering degree? And I always say that all math classes are difficult. It's just how you're going to tackle and deal with it. And if you have time to be able to really practice and learn that particular skill in differential equation or statistics or linear algebra, because math is a language, and which is one thing that Professor Vartanian and Dr. Lara and I have one thing in common. All of us are ESL, and English is our second language. And I think that helped us be able to learn math because we treat learning the language of mathematics the way we learned how to speak English and be able to communicate with all of you guys. So that's how I view it, and that's why patience is really key in really understanding how you'll be able to finish or complete a degree in mathematics.
Thank you.
I'll add a couple of more things, and apologies, I got dropped off soon. I don't know what happened, but I'm back.
That's okay.
One thing that helped me personally was understanding the context of how math or statistics affected people's lives, right? So I was really fortunate enough to do an internship at ETS in Princeton, New Jersey. And those are the folks who deal with the SAT, with the GRE, right? And so diving into those questions and understanding, they're doing this things called def analysis. And I was like, what's def analysis? Ooh, what does that mean? Why should I know? Why should I care about def analysis? And this is when they were looking at the different kind of questions and how biased they were for different kind of students, right? And so that when they were asking a math question about, hey, student one is in a regatta and their sailboat is going 8 knots an hour, 8 knots fast. How long is it going to take for him to reach buoy A? How is that impacting student achievement? How is that impacting student engagement? How is that impacting how students answer that question? Is it about you understanding the math problem, or you understanding the context, or you understanding the vocabulary, or is it a measure of your social economic status? Like, wait a minute, what are we measuring here, right? And so those things became fascinating for me. And I was like, wait a minute, this has massive implications for students, for their educational career, for what kind of professions they're going to pick. Whoa, right? And so we started looking into those pieces, and I was hooked. It was just fascinating for me. Another one that they were looking at was they were diving into their student populations, and they said, what are English language learners? Can you just give me a definition? And I was like, oh, sure, whatever. And that became an entire project, and that became something that ETS it started to focus on because of how their impact ripples across different student populations. And so it was just fascinating. But yeah, I mean, math is going to be challenging, just like any other topic is going to be challenging especially when you get into the bachelor's, master's, PhD level, whatever topic you decide is going to be challenging. But what is your why? What keeps you going? What melts your butter, right? That's going to be the piece that you have to keep reminding yourself of, because whatever you decide to take on, it's going to be a challenge. But understand that you are capable of taking on that challenge. You're capable of getting to the other side, and you're capable of having amazing repercussions and supporting other students behind you. So that will be key for me.
Thank you. So as you're thinking about, and this is for our students to even consider this idea of math requiring patience, and we know that students encounter challenges in their personal life and challenges at school. Can you share with those students how you persisted when you encountered those academic challenges or personal challenges, so students can persist? What are some of the ways that you might have looked at continuing, in school despite failing a class, despite having to no longer attend full-time, but maybe having to cut down on their courses and do part-time, or right now during COVID, students are facing technological challenges, and maybe going to school is not realistic in the same way that they were before. So could you guys talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the key is the time management. It's very, very important, not only in math. I know we all have families and, lifestyles, and sometimes bumps on the roads, and life is not as smooth, but time management is very important. What I did, I had to be a full-time student. So, and I also had a son, minor son. So I had to raise him. So you have to sacrifice something. It cannot be perfect in everything. So by time management, I would take classes, not all hard classes, and I would not take overload. So if 12 units is the full time or 15 units, I would stick with it. And I would pick some math classes and some easy classes, some GE easy classes, where it will give me more time to spend on the classes that it requires more time, my time, than others. So I will always mix them. And I always picked instructor. They were actually passionate about teaching and they care about students. And there are some out there that, discourage. And I had, my son had high school teachers. And one time I was overhearing their conversation. All the boys are sitting in the kitchen table. I was hearing, and one of the friends said, "Hey, I don't want to take that man's class. He made all the students feel like idiots in the math class, including me." And I felt so sorry, my son too. So I knew that's why he hated math. He didn't like it because sometimes the instructors are inconsiderate and they're human beings. Who knows what was going on in their mind? I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but a small wrong comment, it will influence students' thinking, and they don't think that this could instill in them and it will carry out with them later on. So when my son was ready to apply for graduate school, like it came out SAT score, and he was in a business, so he had to take a GMAT. And when I start helping him, it turns out to be the questions, most of the questions, but math questions. Some of them were we covered in arithmetic class. Some of them were from intermediate algebra class. He had to remember the quadratic formula. Here he's in a business major, but when he's taking that test, it requires math reasoning skills. So don't if you have any one instructor at your history made a wrong comment, don't take that personally at all because he said it because he didn't know any better. Don't take it personally. You have to put in yourself, I can do attitude. I can do it. It may take me longer time, but who cares? I can do it.
Building on Professor Vartanian, if I could jump on this one as well, I think leveraging counselors for this one, having them understand, hey, this is my situation. I'm currently working. This is my life situation. Which professors do you think will work best? Which classes do you think will align with my goals? That's crucial. I mean, they know the lay of the land at the college. And they could be your best allies. They could tell you what supports are available for you. There's childcare services, if there's transportation cards, if there's food pantry available, etc. What are some of the options that could support you and could help you stay enrolled? And also looking at what teachers look like you and have come from similar walks of life, because I think they're going to understand your situation better and they're going to make adjustments. And so that's crucial. But for me personally, one of the pieces that kept me going when I had a hard time was just understanding my why. And as I mentioned in the first semester of my PhD program, when I was 21, I realized that it takes 300 Latina girls to start elementary school for one to come out with a PhD. And I was in a PhD program and I couldn't, I felt too guilty. And so that kept me going. Just understanding that there are so many people that tried and couldn't get there for numerous reasons, maybe because they didn't want to, maybe because they weren't allowed to, maybe because of institutional racism and problems. But I was that one and I could be that one. So I couldn't chicken out. So that absolutely kept me going.
And in my case, just to talk to the students who are in this webinar today, thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedule to listen to us and hopefully get inspired with our stories. For me, failure taught me a lot of things when I was in college because I failed so many math courses in college. I failed calculus 1, I failed trigonometry, I failed algebra, and that's because I know I wasn't good at math, and that's where I'm coming from. But those failures I experienced in college taught me to be stronger and taught me to grow up a little bit faster in college, because coming in from high school, going to college level, I thought everything is just play, just like what is happening or what I was doing at the high school level. But as soon as I experienced failing math classes, one after the other, I almost got kicked out of the program. That's when I realized that I need to fight, that this is something. My goal is to earn my college degree, and my parents are paying for my tuition fees. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? And that's an early experience of me to that you need to do something about your life. And I'm so thankful that at early stage of my life, 17, 18-year-old me, I already experienced failure, and I already experienced that weaknesses can turn into your strength. You just need to figure out a way on how to find it in yourself. And you may experience it in a college level, you may experience it at the graduate study level, or just know that those failures in some of the classes that you will experience, it will make you stronger, and hopefully it will be a learning platform for you to be able to realize how strong you are and how committed you are to your goal. Because if you have a goal and you're committed to your goal, you'll be able to accomplish any of it, even though there's bumps along the way.
I muted myself, sorry. I hear from the three of you this idea of empowerment, feeling empowered to pursue things that are important, even despite failures or despite of a lack of encouragement from others, or feeling as though even though you don't see yourselves reflected perhaps in the profession or even in the classroom, that it's really up to you to continue on. It's really up to you to persist. So I love hearing that from you. I want to segue a little bit, and it's because of a comment in the chat. A student said, when I was starting out, I wish there were more classes available for working adults who worked full time. And so I want to ask the three of you, do you see any challenges, any barriers within the educational system right now that might make it more difficult for students to pursue education in general, and more specifically, a field of interest that involves math and taking math classes, whether they're full-time, part-time, parents, whatever the case may be?
Well, we do have the online program. So the first 2 years for the AA degree, I am perfectly, it's okay to do online. So for those professionals that, they have a committed and they do have a jobs and families full time. So they have to alter their schedule in a way that they could take online classes. So I think most universities now, they have online programs as well. So you can't be a medical doctor online, certainly, or really business school, graduate school online. They're all online at the moment, but I don't see why somebody cannot do online the first 4 years to get the bachelor's degree. So doing a part-time, but I think working a full-time and a full-time students, to me, will be a little bit challenging, especially if there are families. But part-time, a class at a time, being a math major, I don't see that would be an issue doing an online.
Okay. And perhaps Dr. Esperanza or Laura Brady, you can address this idea of online. I know Professor Vartanian, I would not have done well online. I needed to be in the classroom with my peers, getting help from my peers, getting help from the instructor in a way that I think online learning doesn't always provide the same experience. And so there are some people who can be very successful online, and others need to identify some strategies, particularly during this time. So I think that because of online education, it has assisted those who may not be able to go traditionally on campus to pursue it. But I do also know that there are some students who feel that online learning is not the best method. So perhaps the two of you might be able to speak to that and share your own thoughts as well of other areas that may pose challenges.
If I may add, since everybody's online at the moment, so, but when we get into regular school schedule, we have also developed hybrid classes. And I think hybrid classes are very efficient because I have actually examined both traditional, online, and hybrid. My hybrid classes students do better than both either online or fully traditional. I think the hybrid will be another option because I don't think really students undergraduate level really need to be there the full time. I think part-time would blend in the online as well as being on campus with the instructor. I think that may be an option.
And I'm also thinking about switching the question a little bit and looking at what are some of the opportunities colleges can get into or think about to support students, especially now as they're navigating an online world. Professor Vartani is absolutely right on. The hybrid classes are very popular and they're very successful, as well as short-term classes. I mean, there's a reason why students have a achieve better grades winter terms or summer terms, right? They're shorter, they're more compacted, they're quick and dirty in and out. And so thinking about how can the college support students and build on and off ramps so that if student needs to take a break, they know they could come back and where they can left off. Where can the college support learning communities? Because, you know, totally right. You can't go meet the face-to-face approach right now, but how can you mimic that? How can you build learning communities and create those learning spaces between students so that you could poke each other's brain and tackle a problem together as a team and learn from each other and just create that sense of community. So I would flip that question and think about what colleges can do to support students, particularly now, because a lot of the onus is placed on students, and I'm thinking about how can we flip that a little bit, but that's my line of work.
And also for, because we're talking about adults being apprehensive when it comes to earning their degrees at this day and age, because I think it all boils down on time management and how passionate you are in pursuing your academic goals. Because we're now in 2020. Imagine yourself in the 90s when there's no internet yet and online classes are not offered. I mean, education now is more accessible more than ever. We have options. We have traditional, well, before COVID, we have traditional, we have hybrid, we have online. And there are a lot of ways on how, or a lot of options for anyone whose goal is to really complete their academic goals of achieving a higher education degree or that college diploma. It's all just a question on, do you have time? Do you want to sacrifice a little bit of your time here and there to accommodate your goal of pursuing a college degree? Because for me, there's no excuse on not earning a higher ed degree because we have so many modalities and so many options right now that you can have. BCC has online, hybrid, and traditional way of teaching courses. And yeah, we have community colleges, we have the 4-year universities. So it's all up to you how passionate you are of achieving your goal.
So we have 5 more minutes, and I want to encourage students, if you have some questions, to either put it in the chat or if you'd like to raise your hand and go ahead and just ask our panelists. But I want to be very respectful of everyone's time since we are wrapping up. And I have one final question for our panelists, but students are always, I think, great receptacles, for good questions. So any questions from our audience for any of the panelists?
Well, I would like to thank you for arranging this. I really enjoyed knowing our students are hearing us. I think this is very informative to hear from colleagues, as well as having our students hear us through this meeting. And I really want to encourage you, if you don't have a major in mind yet, think of the opportunities in math, and just be strong and be confident, and set up your goal high and try to reach out there, and don't let anybody to take that away from you. You could do everything that you want to do, and education is the best thing that you could do in this country.
Thank you, Dr. Professor Vartanian. Can I just throw one question out there for anyone? What do you see in the future for careers using math? So as students are looking ahead, what do you see right now as opportunities?
Healthcare and mathematics, healthcare and computing. I know that a lot of students would want to pursue a career on medical field, nursing, being a medical doctor. If you can marry mathematics, coding specifically, and healthcare, you'd be highly marketable when it comes to getting a career in mathematics and healthcare, because with all this that is happening in the world right now, COVID-19, all this craziness that we are all experiencing, if you can use the language of mathematics and apply it to other fields like economics, business, especially healthcare and medicine, you'll be set, and you will be the future, and you are the group of people and individual who will change the narrative, and who would cultivate and who would create jobs and careers like this, and would make the world a better place to live in.
Ursa, I'm not sure if students have an access to the PowerPoint that I sent you, which shows some kind of an example of what some of the jobs that students as a math major can get. And I think my answer would be, you have to really love the job that you are looking for. So whether you want to be in the business or a medical field or whatever, but you have to enjoy the atmosphere, the organization that you're going to be working for. So that's your primary goal. And then try to figure out what you really want to do, because job is just like you spend more time at your work than at home. So you have to be happy where you're at, and you have to have a happy job to be happy at home too. So think of it as what would be, not all of these professions that I mentioned, it makes a lot of money. So they are, look at the organization and see what you really like to do, not what is the most money. I could make more money by being an actuary or statistician really than teaching, but I love teaching more than I want to be in a cubicle working as a statistician. I was hired a big job in a Monterey working on a credit card company, household credit card company. And they really started me over $100,000. That was right out of when I just graduated. I didn't take that job. I preferred to start at the bottom with a $40,000 teaching job, because I loved what to do. I love teaching. So it just mattered of what you really like to do, what is your passion, what you want to do, which atmosphere, organization you want to work with, and then try to figure out, brush up your education around that that field.
Thank you.
One last thing I'll add, and I'm adding my email in the chat for anybody that has any follow-up questions, is I see math embedded in so many careers. It doesn't matter what you choose. If you couple it with math, I think you'll have a stronger chance or an edge per se. But especially now with the increase in accountability and transparency in a number of positions, that I definitely see that increasing. So if you're considering a career in math or statistics, think about, and you're not 100% sure, but you're considering it, think about it as a minor or as a focus area, or, think about ways that you could explore it, talk to people, see what their day-to-day look like, see how their impact is in the world. And I encourage you to start on it. It's super exciting.
Thank you. I'd like to just thank all of you for being here today and really sharing some of your insights, really giving students a good perspective on how they should prepare to complete their coursework. And, you know, Dr. Vartanian, thank you so much for the presentation and some of the suggestions in terms of careers that students may want to Google and get more information about. And thank all of you students as well for participating today and for really identifying for yourself the kinds of supports that you need, which would encompass, you know, participating in webinars and hearing from instructors. And so we hope that you'll take this information back, you know, to your peers, that you'll feel more empowered to develop relationships with your instructors. And definitely we want to see you go to your counselors and ask them information about how you can participate in supports that will make you successful. So, you know, thank you all. You know, it's 1:32. And so, you know, I definitely want to encourage you to scan this QR code and either put in the link, April, in the chat for students, or students can also just put it into their computer browsers right now so that you can enter to win. But please, you know, provide some feedback on the survey. And I think that's it. April, I don't think there's another screen that you're going to be showing. So I appreciate everyone's participation today. And Drs. Esperanza, Laura Brady, Professor
Thank you.
Vartanian, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
You have a
And good
great
luck.
afternoon, everyone.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye-bye.